Whether it's baseball, softball, football, or golf, no matter what the sport, Play It Again Sports will get you playing again. We have new and used fitness equipment and gear to get in shape and fit your budget. We are all stocked up for fall baseball and softball. Play It Again Sports will pay you cash for your quality used fitness or sports equipment, or save even more by trading it in towards your purchase. Family owned and local, come visit Play It Again Sports, 3407 East Highland Drive across from Turtle Creek in Jonesboro. Get back in the game with Play It Again Sports.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2019 Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open presented by Pro Discus. I'm Valerie Jenkins, and the DOS duo is back. And joining me today in the booth is three-time men's world champion, Nate Doss. How's it going today, Nate?
It's going great, Val. I'm excited for this final round coverage. We could barely find any time to relax in between what we just saw from our ladies players, and now we're rolling right into these men's players. I can't tell you, I'm so excited to see this group, mainly because we have Garrett, Gurthie, Paul McBeth, Chris Dickerson, and Kevin Jones, who are all names that everybody knows and have proved themselves as great players. In fact, Paul McBeth, probably the greatest player of all time in this group, playing very, very well. And so let's just go right to hole one. I want to get a look at this hole before we head to the first tee. And here it is. Really not much to talk about. It's 450 feet straight away and 450-foot par three. All of our players in this group will have opportunities to birdie this hole. The biggest thing the players are trying to avoid is that right side tree. It is somewhat of a bunker. The disc can get caught up in it. But really, it's a left to right shot where you're just trying to peel a little flip and then flex it right back to that green. But I am excited for this round, Val.
Me too, and it looks like they are excited and ready on T1. So let's throw it over and listen in here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're live on the tee for the 3:30 tee time. First off of the tee, Garrett. Gurthie. Next off of the tee, Paul McBeth.
So nice to see the sun out, but we can see the wind blowing and really affecting that disc a little bit there.
Next off the tee, Chris Dickerson.
Get you some, dude.
And that's that left to right feeling that's what I'm talking about, putting it right inside the circle for Chris
Next
Dickerson.
off the tee, Kevin Jones.
Yes, sir.
Good luck, gentlemen.
And D2P goes to Kevin Jones, last on the spot.
Just like that.
The wind ripping already, and I had a tailwind off the tee, so we had a lot of push shots, a couple of testers. You see Paul McBeth just outside the circle, Garrett Gurthie outside the circle as well, and we're going to see those putts in just a minute. And we're back at the Disc Side of Heaven course in Jonesboro, Arkansas, the third event of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and this is the third round for the MPO. They actually played their second round this morning, so these players clearly shot good rounds already today. Here is Paul McBeth, well outside circle one for his birdie.
Yeah, and as you said, Val, these players were here bright and early, teeing off at 7:30 local time. And what that means is that the alarms were at least going off at 5:36 for all of our players. Oh, and just, yeah, Paul McBeth just low to the left there. But, you know, as I was saying, 5:30 a.m. alarms, get up, get yourself ready, get out to the course, warm up. They had a shotgun start at 7:30. Most of, in fact, everybody in this group was either at least in the third group. So at the minimum, each one of these players playing 15 holes already this morning.
Yeah, and I think that's an advantage. I mean, they've already played really well in the conditions that we have. It's just been windy today, no rain. And so they've already adjusted their game plan, and they're already playing pretty well. We see the scores at the bottom of the screen here. Garrett Gurthie is in the lead at -16. Paul McBeth in solo second right now at -15. Chris Dickerson and Kevin Jones are at -14.
Yeah, and Kevin Jones and Chris are the two people that threw it inside the circle. Now, here's the thing. There's no rain in the forecast whatsoever. The rain is gone, but the winds are going to affect these players all day long as they'll be picking up right now a 15-mile-an-hour wind. And so that's the one thing we in the booth will have to keep an eye on.
Nice solid putt there from Chris. That's a good start. He cards a birdie on there, so he's going to gain a stroke on Paul and Garrett, who have laid up under the basket for par. Here's Kevin Jones for birdie. Here's Kevin Jones for birdie.
Just picking which side he feels most comfortable on. Kevin is a straddle putter. We saw Kevin in the first round struggle from close. He was very on point from far away. And that wind just boosting that up, and then him stepping up very quickly and tapping out. Again, Val, we saw him miss quite a few short putts, but make so many long putts in that first round.
It is incredible, and I expect to see more big putts out of him. He was even hitting huge putts in the morning's round, in the second round. We're going to head over to hole 2 now. Let us know what we're in for.
Yeah, so hole 2, par 4, 820 feet. The players have to throw out this gap, and what they're trying to do is wrap the corner around to the left, putting themselves on the left side of this very wide fairway, and then it'll be an uphill shot. As you can see, it is severely uphill to a blind landing zone with OB long and left. And there's the pin right there. You can just see it in the center of our screen. It is a very gettable hole, but again, with the way the winds are, it's going to be interesting to see how our players are able to attack this hole specifically, as well as the rest of the round. And I also have to mention it's less than 50 degrees right now. So a very stiff wind, but also a very cold wind. And when the wind's blowing like this, it just makes trying to find a comfortable position on the course very difficult to do.
It does. And when it's so cold, you start to lose that dexterity in your hands. And it hurts when you're throwing big shots like this over and over again. And then when it comes down to making big putts, your hands are cold. Now the wind's blowing. It's a lot that players have to deal with, but they can deal with them. As we've seen, they're still shooting some incredible rounds. So here we have Chris Dickerson on the tee after that great birdie on hole 1.
Oh, and Chris just nipping that branch there. That's gonna, and then it flared out underneath a tree. That's gonna put him very, very far back. He'll be left to play this hole for par. Garrett Gurthie, the biggest thrower on tour. Garrett has only played this tournament one previous time, finishing in second place behind Ricky Wysocki last year. And if I were to put odds on it, I would say Paul McBeth is still the favorite in this tournament. It's so difficult to ever put Paul out of it. But Garrett Gurthie knows how to play well in this tournament. Paul McBeth finishing in 13th place last year. So Garrett definitely feeling the good vibes from his previous experience here at this side of heaven.
That's a nice angle right out of his hand. Paul McBeth's able to use that fairway completely. Last on the tee, Kevin Jones.
Yeah, and as you can see, Val, the players having to just navigate those early branches. Once they get out, it's a very, very big fairway and beautiful drive there by Kevin Jones.
And we're going to throw it to commercial, and we'll catch up with them in the middle of the fairway. And here we are. We're back on the left side rough over here. I believe we're looking for Chris.
No, I think they're looking for Garrett actually, and there was one thing we didn't mention when Garrett threw. Garrett takes the extreme high route, and he hit an early branch and kicked him down to the left. And I think that's who they're searching for, because Kevin Jones's disc was not really hiding at all. Garrett looks, and I think right there you can see Chris's drive. He's standing right next to it, so I think they were looking for Garrett's. Seems as if they found it.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough. And we'll see this on many fairways down the stretch, that it's really important to get as far as you can off the tee. But a lot of the tee shots, they require a ton of accuracy. So even though these are long par fours, you have to be as accurate as possible to get off the tee and get yourself in a good placement. Because Chris right here, he's in the rough, but he has another big drive ahead of him to get himself up to near the green, or at least to where you can see the basket.
Yeah, Val, and the fairways here at the disc side of heaven are very wide, but if you get off in the rough, it's tricky. And Chris left very far back. Let's see what he's able to do here. And the crowd giving him a little bit of love. He's able to chip it out quite nice. He's at just below the edge of the hill there. He'll have just a chip up for his par. On a day like today, birdies are obviously going to be necessary, but also just being able to avoid any large numbers, I think, is really going to be a key for our players in this lead group.
That's a good start, but we see already off the bat that you need to start birdieing as much as possible. We see Eagle McMahon already in. He's on hole 4 right now. He's sitting in the fairway, but he's 3 birdies in a row to start. So he has bumped his way up 15 places. He is now tied for second with Paul McBeth and Chris Dickerson.
Now that is an unbelievable stat. And here's Garrett Gurthie. Again, all Garrett can do is chip out at this point, playing this hole for par, just showing you how important it is to hit the fairway. We'll now move up to Paul McBeth, who will be third.
It is a crazy stat, but as I scroll down here on udisclive.com, you can see all the scores coming in, and there's a lot of flat lines. A lot of the players that are in the top 20, there's a good amount of just pars, just not a ton of birdies, some trouble. But yeah, Eagle has made his way up to second place. So here is Paul McBeth, also in second place, second shot. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, the players cannot hear us at all. Sometimes it seems like they can. Paul needs to check. This is all about speed coming into this green, folks. And Paul not able to dial it in at all. The wind really, really affecting that. He'll be on that right side. Long look at birdie. But boy, look at how far Kevin Jones is walking up to get to his drive. Kevin absolutely smashed it.
And here's the guy we were just talking about. We're going to get shots from all different groups thanks to our cameramen. So this is Eagle McMahon on hole 4 in the fairway.
That needs to get down. And the wind affecting it. That looks like it went OB. He'll have a par putt if it was OB.
Release coming right at you.
Yeah, and it's so difficult. We saw it this morning, Val, with a few of our players, and we see his disc there. But it's really tough to figure out the speed coming up and over that little ridge line.
Yeah, and this hole is so challenging because of how hilly it is. There's going to be so many sloped greens ahead of us, but the fairways, I mean, you're teeing off from a low point and going to a high point, or you're just riding the roller coaster up and down the fairway all along the way. But that's what makes it so treacherous when the wind starts to blow.
This is Chris just chipping up, doing what he needs to do to make it easy on himself.
And the reason why it's so difficult to be throwing up and down when the wind's picking up, you're adjusting the nose of the disc. And when you're allowing the disc to get underneath, or allowing the wind to get underneath the disc, that's when it's going to be majorly affected. So players do need to be aware of the wind and every shot, every putt. And there's Garrett Gurthie. He's laying up right there, and that will be a par if he's able to make that little tap-in putt.
Yeah, we'll see McBeth on the extreme right side of this green complex, and there he is. The extreme left for the viewer at home.
So nice to see that gallery forming behind. It's nice to see the sun out as well.
Yeah, the blue skies right there. Although the more blue skies we get, the more wind we're going to see. It's just the way it is.
That was a pretty sweet picture-in-picture there, but unfortunately, Paul isn't able to get enough height under that disc to capitalize that on. And here we have Kevin Jones.
Yeah, and Kev, we can see again, it's just so tough to judge the speed coming up and over these little ridges, especially when the wind's blowing. This is going to be from 42 feet for Kevin Jones. Wind really gusting right now, Val.
Oh, man, I thought that was right in the heart, but it hits just a little bit on the weak side of the basket, and the chains aren't able to catch it. But heck of a run. I can't wait to run down the stats that Kevin has had this weekend for putting, because he has been shooting lights out inside and outside the circle.
And we're back, hole 3, 435 feet straight away. Again, it's all about finding the right line. This is a pure hyzer for our lead group here, and it's about picking the line and adjusting for the wind and not letting that wind pick it up. We saw a right to left wind this morning, and I can see that the flag is blowing on that same angle. So it'll just be about picking the line and picking the right disc here on hole 3. This is the look back over that valley. We're just really seeing a nice pop of sun now.
Yeah, this is, I'm sure, very relieving for these players who have had to deal with rain this morning, but they had a canceled round yesterday. So again, these players came from all different groups to be in this lead card today. So not sure how many holes each of these players had gotten in yesterday before the round was canceled, but here we are, hole 3. They're on the lead card, and that's all that really matters.
Oh, and see, this is Chris now. He's just pulled it out to the right, and with that right to left wind, we saw this morning, it just holds it down. They have to really be very careful at how much stability they choose with the disc with that right to left wind. As soon as that nose gets down, it's going to go right.
Ooh. So we saw that shot out of Garrett yesterday. He was able to turn it over at an extreme angle and let the disc do the work. Doesn't look like he got over on it enough today. He's on the left side of the basket, though.
Such a tricky disc selection here, Val, because they have to come out of this little chute and avoid that branch right there. And Paul has seemingly got this figured out, asking for it to drop, and it does exactly what he wants it to do. And it's going to turn out just perfect for Paul McBeth.
How does he get his disc to just listen to him like that? That's pretty impressive.
Well, when you're a 4-time world champion and one of the greatest players of all time, the discs just want to listen, but they don't always listen. And Kay Jones has pulled it to the right. Wow, that's a horrible shot by Kevin, and it's going to leave him in a very difficult position.
And we're going to pan over. Here's Kevin Jones throwing his upshot. Very nice, but this is a birdie hole for these players. He needed to be up by the basket, and he's going to have to concede and take his par way outside the circle. Not even a chance.
Right here is good. He can go if he wants. I'm ready. Brady can go.
Wow, we see that flag blowing there. And as players throw drives and all their upshots, they're going to have to be aware of which side of the basket they want to land on. Taking the wind into account and what type of wind that you like putting in is going to be the biggest challenge out here, especially when we get to those elevated baskets later in the course. And here's Chris. He is outside circle 2.
Yeah, with 6 players within 2 shots of Garrett Gurthie's lead, really it's about who can find their comfort level in the early going with this breeze. At this point, these players have to just find a way to become comfortable with the wind. The wind, if you can figure out a way, needs to be your friend and not your enemy, and that'll be the key here in today's round.
And a lofty putt for Garrett. Doesn't go too far past the basket, but I'm glad he gave it a run. But he had a headwind putt there. And here is Paul, CTP, putting for birdie. There we go, carding the only birdie on this hole. That's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising, but with that right to left wind, actually hole 3 playing just 1 hole harder at just barely a 0.1 over par.
Three pars and a birdie from Paul McBeth. Not a ton of action has come into play just yet, and we're on to hole 4 already.
Yeah, we are on hole 4, and hole 4 gets a little bit more tricky. And here we go. It's really we saw our players in the first round take the big hyzer, and with this right to left wind, we might see that again, because it's almost a perfect wind to push them way up the fairway. And there's the green from the middle of the fairway. Our players taking the hyzer will push past and get much closer to the basket than this. And really, it's all about this green complex. You don't have a great view of it there, but the green is sloping away and to the left and a little bit to the right as it splits off there for our players. It's all about speed control. We saw it this morning with Paige Pierce having so much issues with the speed coming into each one of our greens. And so it'll be interesting to see how our players handle it. But really what I'm looking to see is, are they going to take that big hyzer off the tee, being that wind is almost perfect for it?
I think so. And if they're listening in, they might be taking that route. But from behind the tee, you can see there's a little bit of a branch that might come into play. But if players throw around it, they should be all right.
Yeah, if you look just right over McBeth's head right now, that's the gap he's shooting for. If the wind were a headwind or coming left or right, we would probably see these players trying to go down the middle. But with this wind, I would expect all 4 of our players are going to go nice and big, and Paul is doing just that. He's got it on a beautiful line. Oh, but the wind has caught it, and it's going way to the right. We saw Eagle over there. Wow, that is a lot of distance, but way to the right.
And when we did see Eagle land over there, he was actually looking for a while for his disc and almost thinking that he was going to lose it for a second, but it didn't seem to be too bad of an angle from over there. So I'm sure Paul wanted it to hyzer back into the fairway more, but should still have a look at the basket.
Yeah, and as we saw that disc sort of about halfway through its flight, you could see the wind just catching it just enough and pulling it to the right, not allowing it to come back. See if Chris can make the adjustment. Now we see it.
Now we don't.
Now we don't. And there we see it coming back. And he is also to the right as well.
And I almost have no doubt that Garrett is going to choose that same line. He's going big. Let's see if he can adjust a little bit and land a little bit higher on the hill.
Here it comes.
Garrett taking it much more tight with a much more overstable disc. Wow, and coming inbounds just in front of that little pod of OB. That's going to be a tricky upshot, and again, into a very tough green complex. See how Garrett handles it. And here's Kevin, 4 for 4 on the big hyzers. Oh, Kevin playing a beautiful shot there.
Very nice. We'll catch up with the players in the fairway after a quick commercial break. And we are back, and I believe we have Emerson Keith here. That's a new face for me, but he is putting for birdie on hole 6.
Yeah, Emerson here on the island green, barely getting it in bounds. We can see he's just over that grip 6 wall. Here's Emerson.
Nice putt there. Emerson was actually leading the tournament after the first round. So it's nice to catch some action. We weren't able to see him in the second round coverage since it was canceled, as we mentioned. But here we go. We have Garrett lining up. Wow, this is an awkward stance that he has to do just to get around to the left side of this.
Yeah, and
tree
actually,
bunker.
I was gonna say it looked as if Garrett was well in front of his legal stance, and Kevin Jones coming in and offering up a little bit. And Kevin, I think they've now got this worked out completely. And
I wonder why he's going down to his knee and not just doing the reach there.
yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe there was a branch we couldn't see, and Garrett's just turned that over immediately. But he's nice and safe. I would imagine we'll see just a layup from that position as, again, this green slopes away from Garrett at that point very quickly.
That's always nice when your competitors are actually helping you out when they see a stance violation before it happens. We're all out there in the same boat, even though we're competitors, but it was nice of Kevin Jones looking out for Garrett and making sure that his stance was legal before having to call him out on a foot fault.
Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with allowing yourself to see something say something when you see it, and Kevin perfectly executing that, and Chris just barely outside the circle. Those are going to be very difficult putts with this elevated basket. The tournament staff choosing to put this basket as an elevated one, I think, is a genius move, as it does create such a difficult putting area. We saw this from Eagle on Friday, Val, when he was this far out of position. A sidearm came into play, and he was able to just park his upshot. And it looks like Paul's going to go for the same thing.
It's a tough angle here, but he does have to get enough power underneath this disc to get it up close enough to the basket. Great power. Out nearly perfect. I mean, he's 5 feet beyond the basket. So, yeah, that was a great shot from Paul. And we're 4 holes in. And I said there wasn't much action happening, but Paul, with that birdie on the last hole, is now tied with Garrett. So, as we saw, Garrett is in the fairway after 2 shots. He's still going to have a layup and to get his par while Paul is looking at birdie here.
Yeah, I think too, just for face value, there's not that much action, but really there is all kinds of action. Beautiful shot there by Kevin Jones. And if we just look at the scoreboard, it is bunched up. And if you were to talk about somebody in the shack that was putting the name on the trophy, there's no way they could even pick a name to put on that trophy. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 players within 2 shots of this lead. And boy, it is going to be exciting as we move our way, especially when we get to the back nine, Val, because the back nine is a place where there's a lot of possibilities.
And we saw Garrett laying up for his par. Here is Chris. He's putting for birdie here. Elevated basket.
Yeah, tough putt for Chris here. He's got to worry about the speed. And just unable to really go at it fully because of that sloping away green towards that out of bounds. It's just a bunch of tap-ins here at this point from our lead card.
There we go. Chris taps in for his par. We're going to see a par out of Garrett Gurthie. A birdie out of Paul McBeth. I'm already counting it.
And a birdie out of Kevin Jones. And we're just seeing that movement that we were just alluding to. There's going to be all kinds of movement today.
Exactly. With just a stroke separating each one of these players all down the leaderboard, they're going to flip-flop all day. Here we go on to hole 5.
And here we are, Val, on hole 5. And why we've played 4 very neutral holes to this point. Hole 5 is not neutral at all. 495 feet downhill. Plays as a par 3. We have the OB on the right as well as the OB in between the main part of the fairway and the green. We've seen players go for it. We've seen players lay it up. In fact, we saw Paige Pierce absolutely park this hole this morning in a very difficult wind condition. They play a different tee, but still the challenge of the green is still there for both of our players. So it'll be quite interesting to see how they decide based on the wind. The wind is now turned back into the player's face, but it is 495 feet downhill. We saw all just spike hyzers on Friday, and it looks as if Paul McBeth already changing his direction. He's going to go right down the middle.
And this hole is nearly 500 feet. So this is an absolute bomb.
Seems as if Paul was stuck between a rock and a hard place, but he's going for it here. Just about picking the right disc and the right angle. He's got this on a beautiful line. Needs to beat that tree. Oh, and it does not. Man. Had that beaten that tree, we would be talking about a birdie for Paul McBeth.
I think that's the tough shot of going up the middle. You do bring those trees into play more than you would if you threw more of that hyzer line. And Kevin's doing a little body language here, but it's looking like he's hanging out way too wide. He's in the water, out of bounds. He'll be joining Paul at the drop zone.
Wow, it was interesting to see Kevin asking for that to come back to the left. I would have almost been asking it for to go further right so that I didn't lose the disc. He was closer to the right side of that lake than he was the left side. But an up and down play from Kevin, and here's Chris. And tough for us. Oh, we see a tombstone right there in the fairway. So Chris playing the smart play on this one, just keeping it in bounds, playing the hole for par. Garrett's going to go ahead and go for it. This needs to be stable, and if it is, he's made a good decision. Oh, and just barely making it back in bounds.
That's the exclamation point we needed on this hole. After a couple out of bounds and a layup, Garrett Gurthie crushes it. We'll catch him up at the drop zone. And we'll catch him up in a second. But yeah, words sometimes just don't happen. But as we wait for them to collect themselves and figure out if they all did go out of bounds and check their lines.
Yeah, we know for 100% that Kevin Jones is going to have to go to that drop zone. I think the big question we were asking, even the producers, was Paul McBeth OB? And it looks as if he's not, because Kevin's throwing first.
Oh, my.
When Kevin taking it very low there. And so it looks like Paul is in bounds because now Chris is moving in to throw his shot. So very fortunate for the leader of this tournament to end up in bounds.
This is a good, smart, safe play by Chris. Playing the up shot, giving him a nice open shot. He's got good placement on the right-hand side of the fairway, giving him this hyzer up shot. And that made it look easy. He'll have a drop in 3.
Yeah, Chris is one of those quiet guys on tour, but he lets his game talk for him. I mean, he's a very deliberate player. He's a smart player. He knows his game very, very well. Well, let's see here. I think McBeth actually is well, no, he didn't put a marker down.
But you would have to go from the drop zone.
Yeah. So we're guessing he is safe here. It's really tough to tell. Oh my goodness! And Paul almost putting it in. Just want to see.
And he grabbed his disc.
Yeah. So we could see that there, and you can see it right there. He's got a disc in his hand, so that'll just be a par for Paul. But knowing Paul McBeth, he wanted that long putt to go in. And there's a little grappling going on. So Kay Jones is going to get his disc back.
Oh, that would be nice if that guy followed around this lead card today. I don't expect too many more discs to go in the water, but it is nice to get it back when they do.
Yeah, I want to hire a guy with a scuba suit out at the USDGC. Just go get all the discs.
Be your caddy
right.
And get your discs. Or all your opponent's discs. Let's just leave it at that.
We'll get them all.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't be throwing any in the water, right?
Nah.
All right, cool. And we have Garrett Gurthie. He is the only one to go for the green and land in the green, and he will be putting for birdie here. Wow, and immediately knowing that's not going in, he airmails it, not even giving it any metal. And we have Kevin Jones
putting right at us, so don't move, Val. Just stay still. No, I know I'm looking at a different camera angle, but here's Kevin Jones. Oh, and it just spit out.
I did not want to jinx it at all, but Kevin has not been hitting very many of those short, almost gimme putts for players at this level. But Kevin is a strong player at the circle's edge. He's great with jump putting, but there is just something weird with that technique inside the circle. There we go. Garrett Gurthie drops in his par. This is Kevin double bogey after going out of bounds. And here's Chris playing the safe shot and tapping in his par. And we're on to hole 6. Here we go.
We are on to hole 6, Val, and here we go. It's the island hole, downhill 315 feet. And really the nice thing about this island is that the green is in the favor of the player. If you hit in this green, you're going to stay in bounds. But really it's all about picking the right disc and the right height. There should be a little bit of a tailwind off of this tee, but we will see how our players handle it. We haven't seen too much action on this hole yet, but we could, of course, see quite a bit. And this is Paul Ulibarri all the way up on hole 8 as the chase card is 2 holes in front of our lead card.
That's nice to hear. We know that as the course moves on that backups can happen, but it's nice to know we have a little gap right now. I feel like we're playing really quick, and that's been good. The play hasn't been super insane fast. Garrett Gurthie is just parred every single hole, so he is still hanging there. He's in second place, while Paul McBeth has taken the solo lead, but just one stroke ahead of Garrett. And
Yeah, and I
here
think,
we go.
yeah,
Paul McBeth first on the tee.
for sure, as Paul throws this, just a little insight into Garrett Gurthie's statistics. In the driving category, he's number 2 in parked drives. As we see Paul that needs to hook up, get a little lucky, and the wind just air bounces him back inbounds. But in parked, Garrett Gurthie is number 2 in the circle in regulation. He's 51% at number 1, and in circle 2 regulation, number 6. But then we go to putting, and right here, 45th in circle 1X putts, 72nd in circle 2 putts. And so really putting is what it comes down to for Garrett Gurthie. And all of a sudden, very quickly, this tournament is turning into a thoroughbred race as Eagle McMahon is on fire.
Chris Dickerson with a signature whip style throw, able to hit that back fence and stay in bounds. So he's putting, it's about 28 feet from there. He'll be able to take his relief from the fence, bringing him a little closer to the basket. Garrett going really quick, riding that right-hand side and bringing it in so nicely. That is a perfect shot right there.
Absolutely perfect for Garrett Gurthie. And there's the stats right there. Garrett being number 2 in park jobs. That's one of the reasons he was our leader coming into this round. Oh, look at this. Nice shot by Kay Jones.
Hitting the line so nicely, letting it ride out. We've got a commercial break, but we've got some putting to do after that. And we're back, and it looks like Chris Dickerson will be the first one to putt. And I gotta give a shout out to UDisc Live, who is covering live scoring for every single card out there today. If you are not on the UDisc Live website or you haven't downloaded the app yet, you better check it out because there's so much action happening right now in the third round of the Jonesboro Open. Chris Dickerson is lining up for birdie.
Beautifully controlled there by Chris. Just dropping it in the basket like he was 2 feet away. And then we see Chris Dickerson's putting statistics. Very, very good putter. This guy's a great putter as well. But not able to convert that. Almost a little bit too casual. Oh boy, here we go. And with Eagle McMahon and Simon Lizotte on an absolute tear right now. Simon has birdied the last 4 holes in a row. Eagle is 5 under with a bogey, with 6 birdies and 1 bogey through 8 holes. None of these guys can slow down, that's for sure.
Here we go. Garrett is on the board now after a bunch of pars to start. He got his first birdie Everyone in the card has gotten a birdie now, and Paul McBeth cards a par, but we're on to hole 7. Savage hole.
Yep, the Savage hole, hole number 7, sponsored by Savage Ultimate. Here we go, up the hill, hole 7, 615 feet, par 4. This is a hole that each one of our players will want to birdie today. It's been playing as one of the easiest par 4s on the course, and all of the big names ahead of our lead group have birdied this 7th hole. They want to put it up just past the main bunker tree in the middle of the fairway, on the left side, ideally, playing a left to right shot into the green. But again, as I said, Val, everybody in the group ahead of our lead card has birdied this 7th hole. Really, you look, I think up to 12 players now have birdied this hole. So playing very, very easy.
And there we go. We can see the leaderboard pulled up right now. Paul and Garrett are tied for first right now. We see Eagle McMahon tied for, there's a 3-way tie, excuse me. Chris Dickerson and Simon Lizotte is on fire right now. They're both tied for 4th place. Paul Ulibarri and Emerson Keith are tied in 6th. Lots of action happening. Everybody within just a few strokes of each other.
Yeah, if Garrett can just somehow find a way to just get a little bit of confidence in that putting stroke, we could see him with a real opportunity. But Paul McBeth giving a real gift to the field with that missed putt on the last hole. And I just pulled up the rankings, Val, for this 7th hole, playing as the 2nd easiest hole on the course, almost a half stroke under par. That says a lot about how easy this 7th hole is. And yeah, there are the stats right there.
It is so fun to see all the stats coming in, and as players compete on this course, the stats just get more and more accurate. And here's Garrett Gurthie just whipping out a huge crush. He's going to have a nice look. He's in a good position in the fairway. Wow, and to get enough power behind these drives, players are having a little bit of trouble with the end of that tee pad there. Able to make it happen. Kevin Jones throws his disc, hangs it out a little bit on the right-hand side.
Boy, Kevin just threw it 80 feet past our other competitors to this point, but he's on the right side, which is a much more difficult entry into this kind of funky angled green complex. But yeah, Val, as you said, I mean, this course has been played so much today in the rain that it's just tough to get good footing. Paul McBeth playing that right side as well. And he'll be up there even short of Kevin Jones. You see how big Kevin Jones's drive was.
I said I'm on the ropes about what.
Here we are, we're back at the beautiful disc side of heaven course and just admiring that the sun is out. Look at those beautiful green fairways, huge trees, one of the more beautiful complexes that I've seen for disc golf. Rolling hills, crazy challenges. This is a fun course. It's a fun course to watch. Someday maybe we'll get out there and play it. But as we see the players still walking up to their drives because everyone had crushes.
Yeah, all the players were pretty far up there. I think the players are just now trying to figure out who's out first, and it'll look like it'll be Chris Dickerson. You can see a nice, healthy crowd starting to gather as we get towards the end of this round. We'll see the crowd just get even bigger and bigger and bigger. There is an amateur tournament happening on the other course, and that tournament's run by Dynamic Discs. And so we'll see as those AMs finish their tournament, they will come over and watch our competitors finish this round.
And this is the shot we will typically see on this hole. It's nice to have a throw that starts off left, comes to the right. Looks like Chris has a lot of work to do, but cures it. That is going to be a drop-in birdie for Chris. Shortest off the tee, but might be the closest after 2 shots. We'll see if anybody can get closer.
And that's what I was saying about Chris. He's very confident in his game. He's a very quiet player, but he just has that ability to just stick to his own game. Garrett coming in and playing it. Wow.
Oh.
Fighting for CTP.
Looks like Garrett's playing pretty quick. I mean, he's really just stepping up, knowing what he's going to do, and throwing it immediately.
I noticed that the other day. I mean, it seemed as if Garrett was just really feeling very confident in what his decision making was and able to just play right away without any hesitation.
You know, sometimes that can be a good thing, but also it can be bad if you don't put enough thought into what you're actually doing and thinking about the wind. Wow, another park job for second shot. There's Paul McBeth. Gonna be a drop-in birdie for him as well. Got one last player, Kevin Jones. He did hang his disc out to the right, so he's gonna have a tighter angle for his sidearm upshot.
But he's just so much closer to the basket. And Kevin's going to be the only one with any kind of putt. He just really he put the disc so far up the fairway that he was just so much closer to those stand of trees that we see right now that really it wasn't too much of an issue for him.
Right, and we're going to see a lot of similar upshots like this throughout the course. There's a lot of those baskets that are tucked directly behind some sort of obstacle, which happens to be a bunch of trees on this course. So the sidearm shot really comes into play. So these players look like their sidearm game is on point and they're ready to go. So that's a good sign leading into the next half of the course. Tap in birdies for everyone. Like Oprah, you get a birdie, you get a birdie, you get a birdie.
And really that easy ranking holding up true here on hole 7 with our lead card. All carding birdies. We're going to move over to hole 8. A lot more difficult of a hole here, hole 8. I think hole 8 and hole 10 are two of the most challenging par 3s on this course. And it's just one of those types of holes with the basket tucked just behind that stand of trees. If you don't have a sidearm on this one, you're left to do a late, lazy turnover that comes into this green complex. Otherwise, you're throwing a sidearm with a pretty high-speed disc and trying to land it into that side hill and give yourself a putt. We've seen bogeys on this hole. We've seen birdies on this hole. So one that is a little bit more challenging. And I'm just looking at the stats here, playing just slightly under par. Let's just call it playing even par as the 7th easiest hole on this course.
We see those branches blowing right now. I expect to see 4 sidearms off the tee here. That is the play. And it is right in the wheelhouse for a nice birdie Keep those birdies rolling. That's what this card needs to do if they want to stay at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and the wind is blowing from the player's left to their right. So putting this disc, just as we talked about on hole 3, it's about picking the proper angle and just letting the wind and the disc funnel right to that basket. Looks as if Chris has done that. Wow, what a beautiful drive.
That was an ace run. That had the perfect height, crashing in right next to the basket. Hoping to follow that same line. Here's Garrett Gurthie.
Yeah, and we just saw Garrett go just a little bit wide on that. And there we go. Yeah, camera one just lost their feed, but we saw in another angle here that this angle that Garrett just finished just a little bit wide. We'll get camera one back online. And wow, that's a big flare drive by K. Jones. He's going to be 35, 40 feet past this hole.
Wow, that's a big crushing drive. And last on the tee, after carding a par, just 2 holes back, we have Paul McBeth. Few distractions before teeing off. Back in focus here. Taking it nice and wide. Hopefully it comes back.
Try to use the wind here. Wow, and he's done it perfectly. We call that a tombstone by our leader, Paul McBeth.
We'll throw it to commercial and we'll catch back up with them at the basket. And here we are back in the action. Kevin Jones, after soaring past on his drive, he will be the first one up for an attempt at a birdie.
Yeah, and this is camera one. So camera one is back live. And we're going to have Kevin Jones putting for birdie. You know, here's the thing I was saying in that whole preview, Val. It was about picking the right disc and the right angle. I think Kevin got his disc just a little bit high, and it pushed just way right of the basket. This is a very touchy putt for Kevin Jones. Has to be careful, and that's what we're talking about right there. Had to be careful and was not careful at all.
Oh my, he is going to want that disc back. He's going to want that moment back. Wow, he soared past it, even though he is such a great putter from outside the circle. That was huge risk. Now he is outside circle 2. He's going to have that cedar bush in his way. I'm not even sure he'll be able to see the basket unless he's able to straddle out.
This is a guaranteed bogey for Kevin Jones. He's double the length away from the basket now that he just was, and barely able to get it up and out. He'll have now a 27-foot putt for his bogey on this hole. Kevin Jones, his tournament is just unraveling at this point. It's almost safe to say that that's really it for Kevin Jones. He's going to now move at least 5 strokes back of our lead.
It's brutal to say, but we know how disc golf is. It's such a mental game, and those are 2 blows to Kevin's mental game. We'll see if he can recover from that putt, but first we have Garrett Gurthie putting for birdie. And not quite hitting the line that he needs to, just kind of slinging it up there. He's not really extending toward the basket. And here's Kevin. He's putting for bogey.
Yeah, and there you go. I'll give the mark to Johnny V. Johnny V in our ear saying he thought he was going to be short, and that uphill putt certainly was short for Kevin Jones.
And we're back, and this is Chris Dickerson putting for birdie.
Directly into the headwind.
Nice putt. Drilled it right in there. So important to have those putts just flying flat, not allowing the wind to affect it much. And that's a birdie for Paul McBeth as well. And this is a drop-in double bogey for Kevin Jones. And behind the basket, hiding there, is Garrett Gurthie. This will be for par. And at this point, we're almost halfway through the course, and we have seen way more pars than birdies. This lead card needs to step it up, but we're on to hole 9. Let us know what it's about, Nate.
Yeah, here we are, hole 9. It is a par 5 for the men. It's a par 4 for the men. That's right, 750 feet. We've covered so much golf. 750 feet. The players are trying to get it down into the low of the valley. Then it's an up over the hill, blind second shot into this green. And a birdie on this hole is very, very good for our players, being that it is a 750 par 4. And Val, I was mentioning it right before Kevin Jones putted. That was a very, very tricky putt, and Kevin just did not navigate that in the proper way. But his putting is so aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was going to airball, there was nothing else that was going to happen. There was nothing in its way to stop it from going all the way. And Kevin Jones's tournament is essentially now over. He's now 6 strokes back of our leader, Paul McBeth.
Yeah, and you can see the frustration just building after he missed that putt for bogey, punching the ground. I mean, I'd be just as frustrated. You know me. But
Yeah,
all seriousness. Right. Kevin Jones, I mean, now this is the opportunity. He just needs to go all out if he wants to make a comeback from that bad hole. There's Chris Dickerson pumping it out there.
Yeah, Kevin's an intense guy. Played a little bit with Kevin over these last couple of years as he's made his way onto the scene. He's an intense guy for sure. He's not going to be happy with that. And really, this tournament is unfortunately not going to include Kevin Jones as far as potential one of the winners. Paul's got this elevated nicely, but that left to right wind should keep him perfectly in the fairway. And Paul McBeth with an ideal drive. Hole 9 is playing as the 5th most difficult hole at almost a half stroke over par.
Here's Garrett Gurthie as we see the stats for the hole.
Did you see that, Val? That disc went out there halfway through it. The wind absolutely just gutted that drive and took it directly down to the ground. I mean, that was eerie the way that looked. Erie, Pennsylvania.
or Lake Erie. Here is
Oh.
Kevin Jones not getting the luck he needed, nipping the branches, and we are going to catch up with these players farther down the fairway after a quick commercial break. And we're back on the course. It's going to look like Kevin Jones is first up after hitting some branches off of the tee. It's a really short drive, so he's got a lot of ground to make up right now.
That was interesting. The crowd was cheering right before Kevin threw. Look at this shot by Kevin Jones.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh, that was a crush. That was huge. He will be, I think, just outside circle one. That would be a huge save if he's able to make that. But after what we just saw on the last green, he might be a little shaky with that putter.
Yeah, boy, that was a great recovery shot. We just see our second chase card up on hole 10 tapping out. I have to mention, Val, Paul Ulibarri wearing the tight pants today. The jeans. I think they're like brown jeans or something.
I don't think they make brown jeans, Nate.
Some kind of denim or corduroy or something. They're tight, though. Paul Ulibarri.
He might be taking style and fashion tips from the pro golfers that we see out there. That is the style. I think Paul's looking good. He's looking good. You got to look good to play good. And he is hanging in there. He's sitting in tied for fourth place with Eagle.
Absolutely.
They're shooting good rounds today. He's at 4 under.
Yeah, I mean, that was a birdie putt for him as we just switched over to him after Kevin's shot. So nice play there by Paul Ulibarri. Kevin Jones is going to have an outside look at a birdie, but here's Chris Dickerson. He has to sneak it just past that tree and come into that green. And you can see the way this green is. It just slopes away from our players. And you can just see it kind of sloping down. It'll slope down to the right and work its way.
It goes like this, I think. You start high, you go low, you go up high, and then it goes low.
There's only one way for me to talk about these holes. I got to use the flight of the disc.
I know. And it's so funny, actually. We just opened our brewery, Bevelcraft Brewing, and we have so many people at the bar using their hands like that. I'm so scared they're going to break our glassware. But that's what disc golfers do. We talk with our hands and follow the flight with our hands. So,
for sure.
All disc golfers do that. And we are going to check back in because we've got Garrett Gurthie warming up, ready to just launch this one.
Yeah, this is a tough shot for Garrett. He's got to try to beat that last tree, and he's done pretty well. He's actually given himself an inside the circle putt, and we've talked so much about Garrett Gurthie's putting. Probably if we had a stat for what we talk about, Garrett Gurthie's putting is very high on the list, as well as Paige Pierce's putting, although Paige was able to get above that putting and take down the victory. 3 straight wins in Jonesboro. Amazing job by Paige Pierce. Here's Paul McBeth for his second shot. He has to try to just beat that big tree. It's all about speed here. Completely blind. And the tree helps him out very nicely.
That is really fortunate. He is going to be the closest one putting, and It's going to be tough for those that are on the circle's edge here because everybody's looking at a death putt. Nobody is long of the basket, or nobody's really even with the basket just yet. So we're going to see 3 death putts on circle's edge, and Kevin Jones is right under that branch on the left-hand side of our screen. So we've got some putting to do on this one, but you were mentioning Paige Pierce. She took down the win earlier this morning, and it literally came down to the last hole. So as we're watching, even the MPO, everybody is so stacked up just within a few strokes of each other. It could come down to that last hole.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Val. And I think that it might, unless Paul McBeth finds his confidence, which clearly he's already feeling very confident today. If he continues with this type of play, we could see Paul just take off. He's putting a lot of pressure on the field right now because of his play. And the group is just looking for Kevin's disc. And there you go. Garrett has found it. He's pointing right down at it. And we know because we saw it land there.
So we could have helped him out, but sorry, guys. Glad you found it.
Garrett's got that Hawkeye. And here's, well, this is a beautiful look at Chris's, look at his putt directly downhill there.
I mean, if you're talking about Paul's fashion statement with the pants, we have to talk about Chris's pants in a second when he comes back. But the camo, that's how you blend in with the trees. That's how you be one with the course. So it's a fashion statement, and it is utilitarian.
Yeah, absolutely. Spring and fall time hunting gear is perfect disc golf gear as well. We do play a lot in the woods. And this is Chris Dickerson, downhill birdie putt. Oh, and just getting a little bit of metal, but staying close enough.
What a beautiful view, too. I wanted that to drop so bad. I always love being on the course and watching over my competitors' shoulders as they're dropping huge putts like that. Had such nice line. Here's Kevin Jones for 3.
Let's go!
There we go. That is the Kevin Jones we're all used to seeing. That's going to be nice to have a little bit more confidence after some putting woes in the previous hole. That was a big save there for a birdie.
Yeah, it looks as if K. Jones has the AirPods back in his ear. He didn't start with the headphones in, but he's got them back in now. Garrett, oh man, and Garrett, if he could just get some of these putts to fall, he would take home this trophy. I almost guarantee it. But Paul McBeth, 99% birdie there for Paul McBeth. Beautiful birdie. And K. Jones's caddy just in the way a little bit, but that was Chris tapping in for par. There's Garrett. And there's the front 9 in the books. Wow, it's gone by so quickly. Just an hour and 21 minutes exactly at this point. And here we are, back 9, Val. 360 feet. I think this is the trickiest par 3. Shot trying to bend it into a banked left to right green. And past this green, it just runs away for over 200 feet. And the wind really, really whips through this green. It's a great birdie if we can get very many of them on this hole. But the bunker is to the right of this pin, and they want to try to avoid this at all cost.
Right. This is one of the more technical holes. The trees do really tighten this fairway on either side. But for the men, I think that this is in their zone of throwing a nice sidearm. I feel like a sidearm is the only way you're going to get close to the basket here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I look at this hole on paper and I say, boy, I would just wheel a buzz down that left side at 360 feet, just play it on the left side, just bring it in. And then the way the green banks, it in theory, it should just work perfectly for it. But we've seen on the FPO side, they have to throw drivers, and those are just working their way away.
Yeah.
So really a nice soft kind of, or, you know, really a power sidearm that can dig in about 35, 40 feet short of the pin is definitely going to be the best opportunity for birdie on this 10th hole.
I think so, yeah. And with the lower ceiling, it's tough to use a mid-range disc because mid-ranges, they just need a little bit more air underneath them to fly the distance that you need. And at 360 feet, that's plenty of distance. So I think the sidearm's the best route. And, yep, me and Paul are on the same page here, but he's got 3 discs in his hand. He might hear us.
I think it depends on the wind. You see, the wind is going to be cross at the early part, so it's going to be crossing from his right to left, which should help this sidearm become just a little bit more touchful as the wind will push it out right here. Oh, this is on a beautiful line. Has to sit. Oh, my goodness. Almost acing.
That was so
Holy
awesome.
cow.
Dang.
Amazing shot by Paul McBeth. Boy, the rich keep getting richer.
And he cannot see that, so we see his reaction. He's just excited that he hit his line. But we're excited here in the booth, and it's exciting to see that, I'm sure, for all of you watching the live coverage. There's Kevin Jones, really low worm burner. He's in the center of the fairway, though, so he'll be able to save his par. Here's Garrett going for the backhand. Ooh, interesting form there.
Has to beat that. Oh, and it beats it perfectly. That's another beautiful shot by Garrett. That's what I would throw, folks, if I was here playing. But Garrett executing it perfectly.
Many ways to get to the basket.
Absolutely.
Let's see what Chris chooses to do. Looks like a backhand.
Yeah, we don't see Chris throw a whole lot of sidearms. I mean, he does, but he's, you know, being from Tennessee, he's very accurate in the woods. He's very technical, and so this is seeming like one of those shots that should just fall right into his wheelhouse, and he's executed this well. Also, wow, what a great grouping of drives by our lead card.
That was awesome. Good throws. We'll take it to commercial, and we'll catch back up with Kevin Jones in the fairway. And quickly back in the action, that was Kevin Jones laying up for his par. This is nice. It's like we're actually walking down the fairway to check out the group.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got some nice drives on this one. We're going to have a few putts on this elevated basket. But man, it was fun to see that ace run by Paul McBeth. Skipping in, smashing into the... I think it hit the pyramid, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought we would have heard it, and maybe everybody did at home, and we just couldn't hear it here. But, yeah, I mean, what a beautiful shot. And that was the shot. I mean, he brought it in about 25 feet short and just skipping up perfectly for a tap-in. Depending on what Chris does here, this could push it to a 3-stroke lead. Oh, and Chris just flashing out the left side. I think this putt by Garrett is a must-make at this point of the tournament.
He just missed a similar length putt, but it was a downhill, kind of death putt. But he's looking to get the putting stroke right now. This is the most important time. Wow. Airmail yet again. He's been yanking them all wide, it seems. So not even hitting any bit of the basket, giving himself an even farther putt now to save par.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Garrett. He is such a good guy and such a good player, but boy, that putter just fails him at the worst times.
And here's the thing, when your putter's not feeling on, and now that you just sailed it past the basket and have this big comebacker, there's no way you can lay this up. So you have to putt again. And that does not help your mental game right there.
So now what this is going to do is put Paul McBeth in the lead by 3 strokes over Chris Dickerson, Eagle McMahon, and Paul Ulibarri at this point. And so Paul McBeth taking a commanding lead with just 8 holes to play in this tournament.
And here we are, hole 11.
Yeah, hole 11, 560 feet, plays down and around the corner. Hard banking hyzer shot that players want to try to avoid going tight in the inside tree bunker. And if they can land in this area, they'll see this view. It's a nice turning sidearm into this green. It's a really, really nice sidearm into this green. The way the disc comes in, the green slows it down. But really, it's all about the tee shot here. If the tee shot just gets too far onto the inside of the fairway, the angle to this green is just completely cut off. And really, these players are looking to throw about 450, you know, it's a little bit downhill, so 450-ish, and that'll leave just 110, 120 feet into the green.
Yeah, this is a big hole. It's a par 4. We haven't seen anybody yet pushing it and giving themselves a run at an eagle. This is more of the 2-shot hole. First shot is all about the placement, and looks like we are live on the tee. Paul McBeth taking the solo birdie on hole 10 is first up.
It was a perfect view, as we'll see it now come down into the fairway, and Paul has easily avoided that inside green, that tree bunker there. And Val, you know, you said something there, trying to give yourself a look at eagle. I just think the angle is so tough. Of course, with players of this caliber, nothing is impossible. Boy, look at Kevin Jones. That guy just bombs the disc.
Another tombstone in this soft, muddy grass after getting a couple inches of rain from yesterday's crazy thunderstorm that canceled the round. And looking at this tee pad here, I mean, this is mud covered. Players are just tromping everything down. And we've got Chris Dickerson.
And I will say the tee pads here are the turf tee pads that were made so famous for us as touring players over in Finland by Jussi Maresma and his team. And they do hold up pretty darn well in the rain. And the This Side of Heaven crew has done what, for us here in the booth, seemingly a great job. We haven't talked about players slipping off the tee at all.
No, and the turf tee pads, they do have great grip to them, even when they're wet. it is the upkeep that you have to deal with on them as opposed to cement tees. But there's Garrett Gurthie with a huge crush to make up for his bogey. We're going to catch up with them in a second. And
here we are. We'll move right over to Eagle McMahon. They are all the way up on the 12th hole at this point. Look at the crowds. And that is the crowd on hole 11 as hole 11 sort of meanders just to the left or to the right of hole 12 as the players come back. Eagle down in the bottom of the hill. Crazy that he didn't get all the way up the hill, but that just shows you how much weather there is.
wow. And just seeing by the way his shirt was blowing, there is a lot of wind out there when you're in the wide open. So it's tough for players, I'm sure, being in the trees and then throwing out into the wide open. You can't really expect what the wind's doing. So it's important to always be paying attention to how the wind's blowing at every chance, just so you can think about that when you don't feel the wind.
Yeah,
you know it's out there, but
yeah, well, I mean, where we just saw Eagle, I have no idea what happened. I don't know if he hit there's only one tree in the fairway, but he was all the way in the flat on that hole. So it'll be interesting to see once our lead card gets there if there is a ton of crazy wind. But look at that. Paul McBeth, 3-stroke lead. Oh, man, you cannot give a guy like Paul McBeth that type of advantage with only 8 holes to play. We saw some very difficult holes, and the last 3 holes of this tournament are some of the more difficult on the course. So Paul has to obviously keep his foot on the pedal. Yeah, leaving that one just short. It'll be an uphill birdie putt. You can see how mucky this green area is as it's on a side hill slope, and all the players work their way up to the next tee behind this basket.
And it's nice to see this angle of what the players are looking at. So riding along that right side tree line, the basket's tucked right behind them to the right. So it's a definite sidearm shot. Even a player like myself might be throwing a sidearm on this one. Maybe not. But you got to control the distance, allowing the disc to do the work, to bring it in. Oh my gosh, there's another tombstone for you, just proving how soft this ground is out here. Wow, that disc is nearly halfway into the ground.
Yeah, it really is. I was actually originally thinking, boy, I can't believe Chris went so high, which would bring the wind into play. But this stand of trees to the right of Garrett right now actually protects his fairway quite a bit. And then, of course, with the soft ground play, all that height just tombstoned it right next to the basket. So, for sure, birdie for Chris. And then let's see what Garrett's got. Doing the exact same thing.
Very nice. And as the discs are laying right now, we see Kevin Jones going to his shot. So we currently have 2 tombstones on one basket.
On one hole. Let's see if Kevin can get another tombstone, just tombstoning his way down the fairway. Oh, and it doesn't stick quite there, but he's going to have a for sure birdie. So the only person in this group is Paul McBeth, who's not absolutely parked. Paul is inside the circle, just not absolutely perfect.
And so, I mean, looking at Paul's scorecard here at UDIS Live, he has been playing pretty clean golf. He has 4 pars, but everything else birdies, bringing him to 6 down. So here he is, putting for birdie, the only one with a little bit to think about, but he is inside the circle. It's about a 25-footer uphill. Cashes it.
Before every round, tighten the wheel knobs. Remember to tighten both sides simultaneously using a clockwise motion. Only tighten the set screw once your wheel knobs have been tightened.
Yeah, and as you said, Paul McBeth cashing it, showing that he is ready to play. And at this point, I think only some kind of crazy action. Of course, we're never going to count anybody out until it's all over. But boy, Paul McBeth is just looking so solid right now. Very, very comfortable. And we'll move up the hill. You see our players walking up there to hole 12, 655 feet. This is a bomb for our players, and we've seen so many fun tee shots, but with the wind today, who knows, it might just be wreaking complete havoc on this hole. But really, once our players get into the fairway, it goes up the hill, down to a downsloping green. It's a completely blind second shot. Our players having to pick a spot in the sky to aim at, and really, really tough hole. I really like this 12th hole. It's so much fun to watch. And when you see birdies on it, it's really, really fun. This is where we saw kind of a little bit of action yesterday with Katrina Allen hitting the basket, rolling double the distance away from where she landed. So a lot of things can happen, but we'll see what the wind gives us as far as what our players can do off of the tee.
Right, and it's all about booming the shot off the tee. And we've seen Garrett throw a couple of bombs in the previous rounds to where he's at the top of the hill and almost just giving it a little bit of a jump putt to the basket. So that makes the upshots way easier when all you have to do is just throw a little putter at it. We expect to see these players throwing big bombs and being near and around the top of that hill, making that upshot easier. But I think that's the key of this hole.
Yeah, you're right. It really is. The further up the hill and to the left you can get, there's going to be one big major tree we'll see once we see from behind the player's perspective. If they can go past that and to the left, the higher they up on the hill, the better the angle is into this basket.
That's right. And Paul McBeth is truly feeling it now. He is at 5 birdies in a row. Getting this one, it's a par 4, so executing those shots that, we've broken it down as best we could. So if Paul is able to hit the lines like we're talking about, he can get himself to 6 in a row, bringing himself to 8 under. But he's on a little run here. This is nice to see. Players joking around, enjoying their time out there on the course.
Short and then went to chaser.
Oh wow. Yeah, because Garrett, or not Garrett, Simon,
This
the
kid?
tree was OB and he took it all the way back on the
Oh, nice. You got a great son there, sir.
He did say.
Yeah, like point.
That's really great. Do an interview coming afterwards.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so them just kind of talking about what they had seen from the previous group on this hole. We heard Paul talking about Simon. But when Paul McBeth is playing this good, he puts so much pressure on the rest of the field to take so many risks. And it seems as if Paul is playing so smooth, it's just his game plan. His game plan puts risks on other players. And that's what the best players do. I saw it happen so many times with you, Val. With Ken Climo, a guy like Ken Climo, he would put so much pressure on the field as well. And it just forces the players to feel like they have to play at a notch above what they've even potentially game planned for. Boy, huge shot by Kevin Jones. Oh, my goodness.
It is a little tight to the right-hand side, so making that angle for the upshot a little bit more tricky. But, man, look at the sunshine right now shining on Kevin Jones.
Or Chris.
Yeah, Chris Dickerson.
Here's Chris. But, boy, I don't remember Kevin throwing this big even on Friday. He's amped up for sure. Look at this. Is just so much control by Chris right down the middle of the fairway. He'll have a little turnover up and over the hill. And when we see the look, at some point when we see the look back down the fairway, you'll see how severe of a hill it is. Garrett Gurthie is about to just let it rip.
God, the whip and the arm speed that Garrett Gurthie has is like no other.
Yeah, seriously, he is a one-in-a-generation talent.
And here we are, we're back. What a cool view here. This is always a nice time in the evening. It's getting a little bit later in the day. You see the shadows getting longer on all the spectators. These players are working their way to their shots. It seems as Kevin Jones did have a crush, but he might be the first one up. He is tucked down there, closer to the trees.
Well, yeah, it'll be. I mean, I think he's closer distance to the basket, but I think Paul McBeth did what he really needed to do, which was kind of just play that safe shot way over to the left side of the fairway. We see a picture-in-picture with Eagle. Boy,
Oh, yeah.
for some reason.
Flashbacks to the memorial, Nate confusing the two, but Eagle McMahon is the one we're talking about right now. Eagle McMahon's tied for
second.
Now
just
second place.
Converted that birdie.
After capturing that birdie for Eagle, bumping his way up. He's moved up 5 spots in this round. Making his way up, now tied with Chris Dickerson. Paul McBeth still holds the lead solo at -22.
So from where he's looking, he cannot see the basket. He can't see any part of the flag. He just has to go off of memory, and he has to pick a line. And it looks like a beautiful shot, and the crowd liking it. And he'll be, I'm sure, very close to the basket for birdie.
That was a really nice upshot. It was nice to see that he was able to get enough distance on that, clear the corner. He will have some work to do depending on where he landed, but the crowd liked it, so I don't think he got that roll away as one might expect from such a sloped green. And here's Chris's shot, coming in nice and soft. Great angle on that. Shouldn't be rolling down the hill right now, even though the crowd seemed to like it. It is all about just how that disc lands on the grass. Just look at that slope. I think it's a little bit easier just getting all the distance off of the upshot and then working with whatever putt you have, but leaving it too short, I think, puts a lot of pressure on the putt. So we see Garrett sizing it up here.
That's carrying a little bit of speed, but nice touch by Garrett. Beautiful touch by Garrett. It looked like it had so much speed. Just that nose up had it stop nicely. And Kevin Jones just continuing to outdrive Garrett Gurthie.
And this is a great view. actually some of the
It's going through the trees.
oh, and isn't able to hit an opening. But that was the first time I've seen that angle. We've seen a few players land right there by the trees, and we've seen him go that hyzer shot. But we didn't know what kind of window we had. But it was a window, but Kevin Jones nips some branches, falls short. But this is in Kevin Jones putting territory, but it is so severely uphill. It's going to require a lot of power from his legs.
He's a big, strong boy, but he would have also needed, I mean, to basically throw that. We saw from the camera behind angle how severe it was. It seems as if we have mostly, well, I know Garrett's in tight. We could not see Paul's finish. Now we're going to get a view from below. Chris Dickerson is going to be out. And there's our view from below. Look at how severe the angle is, Val. This is the first time we've seen this camera angle.
Nice putt from Chris. With a little bit of elevation and a little bit of gusty wind, he's able to capitalize on two great shots to drop it in there for birdie. Same with Paul McBeth. And after a great upshot by Garrett, that's an easy putt for him for birdie.
Yeah, and that was an important putt for Chris Dickerson that kept him within 3 strokes. And here we are on hole 13. This is a tough little par 3, one that's gettable by our players. It just takes a severe hyzer shot up this hill, and you really have to fight with those branches on the left side if you're going to have any chance of being above or even with this pin. And look at how severely sloped it is uphill there. It's a birdie opportunity for our players, but it's really one of those ones that is very, very tough. And this is where we saw things start to unravel for Ricky Wysocki, because he got caught up in the right trees, then he took a roll away, ends up double bogeying the hole, and that was really the end of Ricky Wysocki's tournament. But here we are. We see the scores there. Paul McBeth, Chris Dickerson at 20 under par. They are in first and second place with Eagle McMahon and Garrett Gurthie 1 stroke behind them, and tied for third. Paul Ulibarri at 18. In 5th place, Emerson Keith is in 6th at 17. It's really starting to stretch out now. 16, 15, 14, 13, all the way down to 10th place. So elongating out our field. Paul McBeth has done that. He seems to do that to fields quite a bit. Really I would say the only 3 people that have a chance is Dickerson, McMahon, and Gurthie.
Here we go. It's nice to see how intense of an angle that they have to throw from here. Throwing a very overstable disc. Sit down.
Just sit. Okay. It has finally sit down. Worked its way a good 18 feet further away from the basket. I was just about to say, Paul really worked that very, very well. And you can see the tree just to the left of Chris's head right now. They have to work just up and underneath that, and then there's another branch on the next tree they have to avoid before working the way up the hill. If you just take it wide, you're going to end up way right of the basket.
These are always tough shots when you're throwing such as... Ooh, that is not going to be good. He's going to have to lay up for a par from there. But as I was saying, it's hard to throw that hyzer angle and still get height underneath it. It's easy to yank the disc. So we'll see how Garrett does here. Going for the high route. Come on, disc. He's inside circle 2, but that did not skip enough for him. He needed a little bit more power. Let's see what Kevin Jones can do here.
Kevin giving it that angle. As long as he doesn't hit anything, this is going to be a great looking shot for K. Jones. Beautiful shot. You know how difficult it is to get above this pin. He's done a great job at that.
Let's throw it to commercial, and we've got some putting to do. And while the commercial break was happening, Chris Dickerson was laying up for his par after hitting early. And we're catching up right now with Eagle McMahon. They are on hole 14 right now. And this is just an artsy shot right here. What beautiful camera work.
Yeah, they're on the tee pad of 14, which is the next hole for our lead card. Boy, just peeling off to the left side there. Here's Garrett Gurthie in our picture-in-picture. Oh, it needs to sit. This is the same roll Ricky Wysocki took yet on Friday. Oh, and he's now outside the circle. That's pretty much going to call it good for Garrett. He needed something like that to happen for it to go in.
Wow, and I mean, we can see just from this angle right here, it's a very sloped green. So hitting the ground in any way, you can result in a roll, and that was a huge roll. Almost back to where Garrett was putting from originally. But trying to put that idea out of his mind, Paul McBeth will be putting for birdie from the orange disc.
Yeah, we just have Paul McBeth waiting at this point for this group. This is Emerson Keith from Texas. And we know Emerson from the Waco final round. Boy, beautiful drive there by Emerson, giving himself a great opportunity, and the crowd appreciating it as well as us. So now it'll be Paul McBeth for birdie.
Holy cow. At this point, I'm thinking Paul McBeth is virtually unstoppable. I think this is what people call beast mode, and it is turned on. That was a huge putt for birdie for Paul, making it now 7 birdies in a row. Here's Garrett just lofting it up there. Putting has not been his strong suit today. And with a big rollaway like that, he will be tapping in now for bogey.
Yeah, and the one thing we need to be concerned about right now, Kevin Jones needs to put this in. If he misses this basket at all, this is a severely sloping green. And puts it right in the heart. And that's what K. Jones needed to do. Just get some birdies back. He's worked his way back from those 2 triple bogeys early in the round.
Hi guys, I'm Alyssa Van Lannen. You've probably seen me hiding in front of the tee pad or laying in the bushes trying to get the best shot. For the best moments in disc golf on and off the course through my photos and videos, check out patreon.com/Alyssa Van Lannen.
AVL, as I like to call her, Alyssa Van Lannen. She is a wonderful photographer. And that is it for hole 13. And Paul McBeth has made that huge birdie putt. We're going to move over to 14. 520 feet. It is a par 3. Lots of OB. We saw Paige Pierce hit an OB stick and stay OB today. Able to overcome that, but it's almost the exact same shot as hole 1, a peeling left to right S shot, just working its way in through the trees on the right side would be the absolute perfect shot. And this is where Paul McBeth yesterday started to fire up, making just a huge putt on this hole, getting the birdie streaks going, and he finished so strong yesterday on these holes. If you can do any of that, and I mean yesterday, I mean this morning, actually, it does seem like yesterday, but it was really this morning that Paul started to really pick up the pace, and this tournament all of a sudden switched around, and we see Eagle McMahon. This is his birdie putt. Beautiful putt there by Eagle McMahon. Nice job by Eagle. Making it look easy. I promise you folks, it is not that easy. And here's Paul Ulibarri.
Another big putt out of this group. That's a birdie for Paul, bringing him to 6 under for the round. He's in 4th place now, bumping just ahead of Garrett Gurthie.
Yeah, and while that birdie putt did take Eagle to 20 under par, 24 under par is our lead. And, you know, here's the thing. You mentioned beast mode. I call this like a quiet beast mode. It's almost like Paul didn't just flip the switch. He just ramped the switch up, almost like a dimmer switch. It was like no beast mode, a little bit of beast mode, a little bit more, and then bang, all of a sudden, it was full strength. And look at the scorecard, Val. He has birdied every single hole from hole 7. That's 7 birdies in a row for Paul McBeth.
I love that analogy you just did. And you did it with your hands too. So that was nice. You guys didn't see it, but Paul McBeth, he was starting out with a couple birdies in the beginning, but the other players on this card were also birdieing. So he was just keeping up with them at that point, but continued on birdie.
Yeah.
So that is it. And we know that he is going to be gunning for this one.
Yeah, as I said, it's just appealing left to right. They want just a little bit of flip up. It's like a hyzer flip with a finish because you can't really throw a true spike hyzer on this one just because of the trees on the right side. Boy, and Paul's done just that. Beautiful drive by Paul McBeth.
You can see his wife Hannah there in the blue jacket, there for support. And Kevin Jones second on the tee. Wow, he has such a compact whip. Really gets a lot of power behind it, and looks like he was turning it over a little bit. He's going to be on the right-hand side, contending with the trees, and good reaction cam there. Oh, there's a good reaction. He's not happy with that drive. Got some work to do.
Picture in picture on the hands and the face and the hands. Kevin Jones, he's so frustrated after some of the early double bogeys he took. Nice job by Johnny V doing the switching picture in picture with the catch cam. All right, well, that was a very nice shot there by Chris Dickerson as well. He'll have a birdie putt. Double G. Wow, what a whip on Double G. A little bit on that right side, but sneaking through okay. He will have a putt as well.
Another tombstone for the card.
Thanks, dude.
We're going to throw it to commercial while we wait for the players and all the crowd to walk down the fairway, and we'll catch up with their putts down at the basket. And now we understand the hands to the face from Kevin Jones. He went out of bounds. He went so far to the right. He's taking his lie on the short side of the fairway. And wow, not making up for it at all with that upshot. He's going to have some work to do with that putt. I'm not even sure he's going to have a look.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have seen this so many times over the years, and I certainly have been guilty of this myself. You just get frustrated, you know. Kevin Jones is playing in front of his home crowd. You know, you feed off the energy, and as soon as that energy starts to go away, it's certainly one of those things that things just mentally start to crumble for you. You start taking less care of each and every shot. One thing about Garrett Gurthie I wanted to mention, I met Garrett way back when it was 1998. That's right, I said 1998. That would have been 21 years ago. I actually played in my very first World Championships with his brother Ben Gurthie, and Garrett was there. The whole Gurthie family was there, and Garrett was just this little guy running around. The whole Gurthie family. There's 3 or 4 brothers, also another brother Evan. And, you know, even back then he had a little bit of a whip on him. And we still see that Garrett Gurthie has that incredible whip. And I mentioned it earlier about a once-in-a-generation talent. And he truly is that, because not only is he a big thrower, but he's an incredible disc golfer. He's able to put great rounds together on the course, even with those putting woes. And so it's great to see Garrett here competing at a very high level.
And one of the nicest humans out there. Garrett has been around the sport for a long time, and he took a little break there for a minute, but he is back. He's traveling around with Jessica Weiss and calling Grass Valley, California his home now.
That's where he gets mail.
Exactly. Here's Paul McBeth for birdie. Excuse me. Oh my. Like, there was no doubt that was going in.
Yeah, we say it when we hear traditional golfers hitting really well. You can just hear the way their irons just bang, bang, and you can hear it when Paul McBeth is putting well. The way the disc hits the basket, there is no doubt. And there you go. Beast mode is in full effect. Now, no dim switch on that at all.
Here is where Chris's drive landed. He's checking the wind, but he's got about 1,000,000 branches, if I can count them, in his way. But he looks like he has found a window. This would be to save a birdie.
Yeah, this is a very Tennessee-like putt. Oh, and there you go. Off the branch,
Oh
the
my
Tennessee
goodness.
kid able to make that birdie putt. A nice little smile from Chris. And we see Kev here.
Getting in position, trying to find the line that Chris was just using. But
Look, Chris and Kevin have such different putting styles. You know, Kevin likes to drill it in there. I mean, Chris was able to just drop it up and in. So much more difficult. You can see Kevin trying to get low just to be able to fire it in there.
again, a little slope behind the basket. But able to get metal. That was his putt for bogey, so he will be dropping in for double bogey.
I can throw this disc around the world in one shot.
Never play disc golf too far into the jungle. There may be cheetahs.
Someone on your card can't recall if they threw a 6 or a 7. It was probably an 8. See? Stay getting birdies, my friends.
Wow, and in that small picture, I don't know if you could see the footing that Double G had to work with there just to get that birdie. He was 5 feet from the basket, but it's all pure mud, having been tromped down from the entire tournament. And we're moving on to hole 15.
Yeah, and here we are, hole 15, 270 feet, playing as the easiest hole on the entire tournament. If we don't see a star frame on this hole, I would be very surprised. Really not much to talk about. It's straight uphill. It's just a hyzer. Pick your line. It's really a driver just to throw it into that side hill. The way the hill works into the players, they can just throw a nice high, overstable driver and just pitch it right into that hill. So very, very easy hole. And a little bit of the last reprieve of our players before they head into the very difficult 3 finishing holes.
So on that last hole, we have 3 birdies and a double bogey from Kevin Jones, dropping him well off of the leader card. He's sitting in 9th place right now. And really the story in the race is with Paul McBeth and seeing if Chris Dickerson and Garrett Gurthie can hang on.
Paul moving himself. He's going to be at 27 feet away there, just above the basket. At this point, these 2 commentators would not expect anything but a make at this point. His scorecard says that. But we'll see. And really, at this point, Chris Dickerson looking for any glimpse of a crack in the door. And maybe this is it that Paul McBeth has given him. And Chris going just a little bit far himself, about 18 feet away.
At this point, Chris Dickerson is tied in 2nd with Eagle McMahon. Garrett Gurthie's tied for 5th place right now. But pinning the basket, holding the CTP, that birdie is going to help him out.
There you go, yeah. You got that.
He's sitting even with the basket. We're going to take a break and we'll check out some putts when we get back. And we're back here inside the circle. Paul McBeth is going to be the first to putt. Start out what should be star birdie for the whole card.
No doubt about it. Paul McBeth making yet another birdie putt.
Nate, that is 9 in a row birdies.
Yeah, Paul McBeth, no stranger, absolutely no stranger to making a lot of birdies in a row. As we saw him shoot 18 under par in the last Disc Golf Pro Tour. Yeah, this guy, once he gets on a roll, there's just no turning back. And Kay Jones missing yet another putt.
Seemed to be a little distracted there and with some frustrations carrying over from that last hole. He did not need to miss that putt. Here we go. Chris Dickerson needs this birdie right here to keep him in second place. Nice putt.
Yeah, very nice there by Chris, keeping up pace with Paul McBeth. But really, the door is all but slammed shut. I would say the only light we're seeing is the light that's coming under the door sweep at this point. With just 3 holes left to play, Paul McBeth in an absolute dominating position. It's so crazy how quickly this has changed in just almost 10 holes. And there you go. There's Kay Jones for par. We'll move over to hole 16, which is a par 5 for our men's players, just short of 900 feet at 855 feet. The drive is somewhere right around 450 down the pike. Needs to finish a little bit left into this line right here. That way you have an open look to go over the lake for 2 and then working into this green, which slopes up and away from the players. If they can get it over the hill, it's a very safe green in a lot of ways, just a little bit of a slope. But really, hole 16, we've seen some eagles on it. We saw the FPO division really struggling on this hole this morning with the headwind was ripping so hard, and we've seen sort of the winds really die down here in this afternoon a little bit, so maybe the men can handle this just a little bit easier. I'm looking down through the entire field, and I see only 2 eagles on this hole. Grady Shue, way down there, tied for 33, 3 this 16th hole, as well as AJ Risley, who just completed the 16th hole. So eagles are a possibility, and at this point, all of our players should be playing this hole quite aggressively and looking to potentially get that 3.
Yeah, it was rough watching the women play on this hole with such severe winds, but it does look to see that the wind has died down a little bit. And we have Emerson Keith here Just waiting a little bit for the distractions to clear. He's shooting a good round today. He's at 6 under right now. He's 4 under just in this back 9. So he's playing really well. He only had 1 bogey, which was on hole 5. But other than that, birdies and pars for him across the board. And here's that nice view of what he's got ahead of him.
Yeah, and the thing about where Emerson is, he's pretty far back, so really a lot of mind games here. He has to think about what direction he's going to go here, but it looks as if he should be lined up pretty well with the hyzer.
And so the basket we just saw, that is not the basket that he is going for. That is the island hole, hole 6. So these 2 holes play parallel with each other, but the basket that he'll be throwing at is on the other side of the lake.
Yeah, and as he works further and further away, now I understand why Emerson has 2 discs in his hand, because he's just really trying to dial in the exact shot so that he can make sure he gets over this water, as that's the most important thing at this point.
The 18 holes.
So while Emerson's sitting in 6th place right now, he's at 19 under. And so just comparing it to the scores we see on the screen right now, that's 1 back of Garrett Gurthie. So it could put him in a tie for 4th if he's able to capitalize on this hole. Chris Dickerson isn't that far out of reach either. So some solid play in these last 3 holes could really move him up the leaderboard.
Oh, and Emerson decided to go with the big turnover look. We can only see it from another camera angle, and he's gone out of bounds. We saw his reaction there, just tossing his mini down. He was put in such a tough position, and the wind was actually working from his right to left. So as soon as the disc got that nose down, it just went directly down into that lake.
Wow. That was a shot I would expect someone like Garrett Gurthie to throw. That's a huge throw and a lot of work that you got to expect out of your disc.
I tried to just throw one on the other
He's trying
side.
to make it happen.
The wind just went like
The 2 holes left, he's trying to make it work.
a little too far right.
When you're listening to the players, here's Garrett explains what he just saw.
Todd's gonna give us the clear. I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna find the sun for a minute.
So I'm gonna find the sun. He told me on the last hole, he's like, I feel like it's chilly up here, kind of like Florida. Whenever it gets a little cold.
You see Simon there playing that beautifully, getting over into it. He'll have a evil look.
Simon is in 7th place right now. He's shooting 6 under for the round, but he's at 18 under in total. So again, still in the mix here. Since he's now laying 2 safe shots, he will be putting.
Here we go, gently.
And here we are back on the tee pad with Paul McBeth.
And as I said, Val, it's a huge shot off of this tee. and we couldn't quite see where that turned up. The crowd not liking it. Paul certainly not impressed with it at all.
And I looked to you for the advice, but I didn't think that was a good shot either. It looked like he had nose up. It flared off to the left-hand side of the fairway. So that'll be interesting to see where he did land. We have Chris Dickerson here looking to make an adjustment, looking to make a move while the door is open for just a second.
Yeah, really, when it comes to McBeth's drive, wow, and Chris has pulled this to the right, way to the right. He's going to be in a mandatory layup position from there. All he can do is pitch back down into the fairway. That stand of trees is not going to allow him to make a move at this green in 2. This is a 400 plus drive. And Garrett playing it nicely up to that left side. He should have a really nice angle from that position. And here's Kevin Jones.
Choosing the low, more lasered line there. Able to carry it. Should have a good look from the middle of the fairway, but we'll check it out after a minute of commercial breaks.
He's trying to go around you.
Here we are catching up with the second car. This is Paul Ulibarri on hole 16. Putting for birdie here. With a little step through jumper putt. That's a signature move out of Paul, and he cashes it.
Yeah, Paul's got the Ricky Fowler brown jeans. I know we're talking a lot about fashion with Paul, and we should be talking about his play, which he's been playing very, very well. And that's another birdie for Paul Ulibarri. This is Emerson Keith. This is now hit. This should be for par as he had to move down to the drop zone. And there we go. Emerson Keith able to save his par. I'm not sure if we will see as we zoom back. Oh, there's Simon. That was for birdie. Really, Simon quietly playing this event. We haven't really talked much about Simon Lizotti. He's just been hanging around there in the 5, 6, 7 range of this tournament. But you know, having a very nice week. Just not the you know, of course, with the way our leaders have been playing, just really not much for Simon to be able to get up into the conversation as far as winning the tournament is concerned.
And that's kind of unexpected on such a bomber course. He's got a great sidearm, so I would expect that he would be playing these holes really well. But yeah, nothing too impressive to talk about with his rounds this weekend. But he's hanging in there, like you said. And so hot rounds today. We've got Paul McBeth. We've been watching the hot round unfold. He's at 11 under through 15 holes. Eagle McMahon tied for third at 9 under. Ricky Wasaki also popped off 9 under. He is in the clubhouse right now, tied for 9th. And Chris Dickerson is actually 8 under as well. That's the 4th best round right now, but plenty of holes for these two players to continue to play.
And here's Paul McBeth going for the green, fully committed to it, and keeping a watchful eye, and his finishing just on the left side of that fairway. And that's the safe side of the fairway. We can say it's almost going to be a guaranteed birdie from that position. And with Paul McBeth feeling the way he is, with just a little bit of breathing room, we might see him go for that putt as well, which would be for the eagle. Wind almost a non-factor here. Very, very low winds. Just a beautiful spring afternoon. Kind of chilly, 52 degrees out there currently, as we saw just a little pop in the temperature with the sun coming out.
Wow, it's really incredible though, and that's really the only disastrous throw he's going to have in front of him with 2 1/4 holes left. We're nearly end, and that, I mean, Paul McBeth, from throwing that shot, that pretty much solidifies this tournament for him. But again, it's a game of disc golf, and we're not going to call it until it is the last putt has been dropped in. But man, what incredible golf.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody at home that's watching, if you weren't with us earlier, and that disc is inbounds. If you weren't with us earlier, we will have a live interview with Paul McBeth, or with the champion of this event. I'm assuming it's Paul, but with the champion of this event, shortly after the drop-in of our 18th hole. And Val and I will be conducting that interview. So we've got our technology worked out. We're able to communicate with Paul. And I think that was very, very cool earlier to be able to talk with Paige post-round. And now we're on Chris. This will be interesting because Chris, at this point, I think what Chris is doing is he's trying to pick his spot. Val, as I said, his disc landed so far to the right, he had no chance of going for this green in 2. So now he's trying to pick which spot he would like to hit from this point to be able to go over in 3.
And that's a good play on this par 5. If he finds himself in a good position to land his upshot here, to go for a birdie, I mean, that's a good strategy right now. Definitely not worth the risk to go for it. A nice little jump up shot there. He's going to have a nice open look. We can see that tree on the other side of the lake. That is the one to miss. There are branches that hang over into the water. And so if you do end up hitting that tree, you'll drop directly down and directly in the water if you don't have enough power to carry through. So even though it's a more open shot, there's still some technical aspects to throwing this safely inbounds.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I was just taking a look at this year's pro payout for the men. First place is $3,510, so a little chunk of change there for our champion. And then second place is $2,325, and third place at $1,830. So we're talking almost $500 difference between second and third. So these guys are still playing for a little bit of money, a little bit of pride. I would say mostly pride and just a little bit of money. But and there we go. We see Chris just getting it over at this point, doing everything he can to avoid any kind of major disaster and leave everything for the last 2 holes, which are no easy holes as well.
So that did go over. So he's safe over there, but that's going to be a really big putt to get a birdie. But par won't be too bad after that little wide drive off the tee and the little slump to his walk. Kevin Jones is not having the best day here at what he calls his favorite course, according to UDisc Live. Kevin is from Arkansas, so he's got the hometown crew rooting for him and unable to show off for them this weekend. But he has had an incredible performance thus far.
Yeah, and really, Kay Jones should be walking with his head high. It's he's playing in front of his hometown crowd. He's really had an incredible performance, and through the first 2 rounds, he's played very, very well. And today's just been one of those tough days. I think us as disc golfers, we get very used to either being up near the lead or winning tournaments, and it's just like I tell a lot of the young players, this game is not easy. Some days we make it look we make it look very easy, but it is not easy at all. And Kevin Jones needs to be proud with what he's been able to do up to this point, and take all the positives out of this when he can, and move forward to the next event, which will be another opportunity to play well and to win. So he needs to walk with his head very, very high. I think what they're trying to determine here is I think Kevin stuck it in the side of that hill. So they're trying to determine where his mark would be, if he's able to mark it up at the top or if he's back behind.
So here, Kevin was not out, so Chris Dickerson is, and we're going to see him going for this. This is for birdie. Inside circle 2.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah, and Chris, look at that reaction, just going, why? Why do you have to roll away right now? And he will have a par putt from down there. It's a makeable putt for him. Nothing out of his range at all, but it's just one of those things. He wants an easy one just to move on to the next hole.
Yeah, such a bummer. We've got Paul McBeth here. This is for eagle.
Man, we in the booth here were just waiting for that to go in. He hasn't missed anything in a very long time. He actually hasn't missed a putt since the short putt he missed on the 6th hole, the island hole. And so he will still be able to card a birdie on this hole for now. What is that, 10 in a row?
10 in a row. So even though he missed a putt, that was for eagle, but he still got 10 birdies in a row. I mean, that's so incredible. So here's Kevin climbing down into that kind of eroded part of the green. So he is much lower than the basket here and having some land in front of him, hoping not to hit it. Just cashes out, hits some chains, hits the rim, but skids past.
Well, yeah, you can see his disc was really dug in there. See how dirty it actually is. Now they're going to get that really clean white towel nice and dirty as well. But, yeah, boy, Kay Jones should be proud of everything he's been doing here this weekend. Just a bad day on the course. This is Garrett Gurthie for eagle. It's a much better opportunity. Let's see if Garrett can make a putt here and just get the crowd juiced up for these last 3 holes, these last 2 holes now.
Yes!
Boom!
Nice, Garrett. That's a huge putt. I'm so glad to see an eagle on this hole. It's right in their range and definitely in the range for a player like Garrett Gurthie. There we go.
Yeah, and just like that, Garrett Gurthie moves right into a tie for second with Chris, who's not in the basket just yet for his par.
The PDGA has ignited the passions of professional and amateur members, paving the way for generation after generation of diehard players. Disc golf isn't just your passion, it's ours too.
Tapping it in there for 10 in a row for Paul McBeth. We saw Chris Dickerson able to make that putt for par, and that is a birdie drop in for Kevin Jones. Here we are on hole 17.
Boy, hole 17. Look at those trees just blowing, but the shot is sort of up and over this little rise right in front of the tee, and they're trying to play it down just to the left of that tree in the dead center of our fairway. If they finish to the left, they're going to have a really nice angle, and that's where we're looking at from right there down to the basket. Basket sloping on a slope from left to right, from the player's left to right, down to a very deep little gully to the right of the basket. But yeah, very challenging hole. In fact, typically this hole has played as one of the more difficult of this tournament. And we have to go back to the last hole. Garrett Gurthie carding the 3, getting
big.
the eagle. Yeah, that was huge for him.
Yeah.
He was down in solo 5th, and now he's jumped all the way into tied for second. And if Garrett can finish strong here, we might even see a solo second, which would be a repeat performance from last year.
That's right. He is tied with Chris Dickerson on this card, but Paul McBeth is just zooming along. He's got 5 strokes on both of them. He's at 27 under. So he is in the zone right now. And looking at UDisc Live, it is all blue for as far as the eye can see on his scorecard. And there's a rundown. We have Kevin Jones, who's dropped down now to 8th place, having some troubles there. Eagle McMahon's tied for 4th. Paul Ulibarri is also tied for 4th. We have tied for 6th Simon Lizotte, Emerson Keith. And the scores as they come in live, players are just getting shuffled around a little bit. Let's take a little listen into the group.
This morning.
That wasn't up for us.
Yeah. But I meant the first day.
Yeah.
The 2 were up, but the cross bar was correct.
So, are we allowed to do what we did? No, even if you're not responsible.
Second card playing their up shots.
Yeah, I mean,
Players on the lead card, just waiting.
Someone could have had a little more.
So here's that tree that we saw in the whole preview that you were mentioning, Nate. And Eagle did play it to the left-hand side of it, but he is really tight to that. So having to use his forehand and really bring it around, he's going to be outside circle 2, putting for 3 on this par 4.
Yeah, and while we were on the leaders talking about the removal, they actually did remove the there was the Disc Golf Pro Tour Zuka Kart Tower off of this tee, and they actually had to remove it due to the winds, high winds. So there was a conversation about if the triple mandatory was still in play or how they would play this. So it's sort of just not there anymore. But we did see Paul Ulibarri throw a roller into this 17th green. We haven't seen that at all. Well, here's Garrett, who got extremely lucky yesterday. This turning way over. And look at that. Wow. Oh my goodness, he is throwing into the crowd.
He said there's people still
Wow,
out there.
I'm so glad that some of the people were looking out for that because that was coming in hot and at their heels. Garrett should have just waited till they cleared the basket. I mean, geez, that was huge, and he's in perfect placement for his second shot. But clearly he's amped up after that eagle.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was a huge shot by Garrett Gurthie, the best drive we've seen by any of our players. Paul McBeth. Wow, this is turning way over. He needs to get a kick.
Oof.
Oh, and he's going to be in a position now where this pole, he's just playing for par. Although we are talking about Paul McBeth here, and who knows what he's going to be able to do. But that was, I think the wind just caught that a little bit, Val. And here's Kev watching it with close eyes. It's going to be a tight little shot on the inside part of the second half of this fairway.
Yeah, it's just a really tough angle from there. If you are going to throw it short of that turn, you want to be on the left-hand side.
Oh, and I like the look of this from Dickerson. Able to just put it safely in the middle of the fairway. It's an okay shot, a little short.
And that's what I'm talking about. So while we wait for him to walk up to those shots, we're going to take a break, and we'll see him on the fairway. And here we are, back in the fairway. Assuming that we're going to wait just a little bit as we wait for the second card to clear a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're just clearing the green now, finally. And boy, Chris has left himself very far back. This is interesting. I'm not sure if he just did not get everything he wanted on the drive, or if this was just sort of his play. It's tough to tell.
Look what he's lining up.
Yeah, I'm not
Is
sure.
Is he lining up a hyzer?
I feel like he's just reacting even still off the tee, because maybe he is lining up a hyzer.
I mean, the angle that he's giving himself, just standing behind his lie, he's not looking at the fairway right now.
No, not at all.
Wait, now he is. Wait, now he's not.
Wow, this is classic, because I wonder if Chris played this way the entire time. I mean, we haven't seen Chris play this hole to this point, so maybe this has just been his play.
And I do hope that the basket is clear right now, because this could be a huge shot.
Come on.
Got to take it high enough.
Oh, that's fighting.
Come on.
And bring it in. There is the OB on the left-hand side.
Yes.
The crowd likes it. I see it right in the middle of the fairway there. What an interesting play.
Yeah, it's a very interesting play. I don't see... I mean, maybe, and again, there's another little kind of half tombstone. I just don't see any way he could get to the basket. I mean, he's just outside circle one there. I mean, I honestly, I just don't see any way he could get to the basket at that point. So, interesting play by Chris Dickerson, and McBeth is now getting into his shot, which is he's deep in the woods, and his disc really turned over a little bit too much. And for Paul at this point, it's all about just getting out, getting up into the green, and getting to the clubhouse and bringing home another championship. I think the one thing we could see potentially here, Val, is if he has something high, and I see him lining this up right now, there's a possibility that he could actually get all the way to the basket.
That would be incredible to see. This is an intentional thrower.
It needs a flip. Now just get on the ground. It's cut back into the edge of the woods. He should be able to get out of there, although it'll depend on the lie.
It was a good move, though. Even though he's still back into the woods, he was able to get enough distance on there. He'll still be fighting the rough on the right-hand side, but yeah, able to gain a little bit distance down the fairway. That's always good.
Yeah, I mean, he did the best he could to, as you said, I mean, just progress it up the fairway. He is going to be on the edge, but he was just really in such a bad position that all he could do is try to get up there as far as he could. Kevin's got to try to throw a very controlled turnover here. And it's hung out just a little bit out on the edge. It's a really tough angle, and you know who's not going to have a tough angle?
Who?
Garrett Gurthie. Garrett Gurthie's drive went so far up there. Garrett is almost where Kay Jones's upshot went. And now we see Garrett right there in the middle of our screen.
I mean, yeah, that was an insane drive there. He nearly made it to the rough and to the OB. It's a bomb. He threw it so far that he almost had a hyzer angle back at the basket, but lays it up there. So nice and perfect. He's going to have a drop-in birdie on this par 4, making this hole look so easy.
You're right. He really has made this hole look easy, and it's not an easy hole at all. That tee shot is very daunting, and now we're going to see Paul McBeth just trying to find his lie. We'll see if our other camera can at some point get in there. We also have Kay Jones on the other side of the fairway. And yeah, we see Kevin here.
A nice upshot there from Kevin. He's nestled into Garden City. He will be able to capitalize on his par there. And here we have Paul in the rough for 2 shots in a row. This view that we see of him right now is one thing. It doesn't look like he's too far in there, but the view from near the basket, there's a million branches in his way. This is going to be an interesting shot. He's going to need to pop out to give himself the opportunity to save par.
Yeah, he's looking at a high jump putt. So from our view here, it'll come in on the left side of the viewer's screen, trying to just get back into the fairway. He just needs to get clean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's done a great job at that.
And you couldn't even see him wearing that green jacket, and with all the leaves and all the branches, he was behind there. Good save. But that does end his birdie streak. He was 10 in a row. He started on hole 7, and that ended on hole 16. Wow.
And yeah, seriously, it's the best run we've seen to this point. we saw early run by Garrett Gurthie in the first round. I think it was 7 in a row for Garrett, but here is Chris. This is to keep even with Garrett, who is pretty much parked for birdie at this on this 17th hole. So big putt here for Chris. Needs to sit. Okay, it's sit down. Good effort there, just a little bit high.
Yeah,
That was for par for Kevin Jones. And another par for Paul McBeth.
And we still haven't got to Garrett Gurthie's upshot. Garrett Gurthie making hole 17 seem very easy. Nice job by Garrett. He's going to move into solo second at 23 under par.
Just in these last 4 holes, Garrett is 5 under. Carding an eagle on the last hole. He's making a move, and this is the time to do it. We're now on hole 18.
Yeah,
can you believe it?
Here we are, 54 holes times 2, our live coverage of all the women and almost all of the men. But hole 18 is 818 feet, plays as a par 4 for the men. Very tight tee shot if the players want to get into a good position to be able to work their way into this green. There's a big bunker of trees right in the middle, about 220 feet short of this basket. And what a difficult finishing hole it is. 18, we knew that this was going to be one of those holes that was going to be so important on the women's side. They do play it as a par 5, and Paige Pierce able to easily get a 4 on it and win earlier. And let's see, in this case, there's really no implications for the title, but let's just see how our lead card plays this very, very difficult 18th hole.
We got props from a young disc golf fan there. And I wonder what they're checking out here on their phone. Do you think they're following the Masters or checking scores? Do you think Chris is checking the scores on the tournament? I don't know. They're giggling too much for that to be happening. But this is amazing to see. We can just see the stoic look from Paul McBeth as we go into just one more hole. He has a 4-stroke lead over Garrett Gurthie, who we just mentioned now has solo second place. Chris Dickerson is just 1 back, so there can still be some action between him and Garrett on this last hole. Right behind them, though, is Eagle McMahon. Eagle McMahon is just 1 stroke behind Garrett as well. Paul Ulibarri, 1 stroke behind them in 5th place. So we see that Paul is just finishing up his round. So anything can really happen on this 18th hole.
Yeah.
Really, the story is with everybody else. We know that if Paul is able just to throw some clean golf on these last few shots, he will take down this championship. But the story really lies in how everybody else is going to finish out.
Yeah, really. It's all about this battle for the true second place finish. And as you said, Val, Eagle McMahon has worked his way to 22 under par, and he's lying in the fairway after 2 throws. And now we see Garrett Gurthie throwing with the big hyzer. In our post-round interview, we heard Paige Pierce say how it's really tough to get back into the fairway with the big hyzer. And she decided to go right up the gut, playing this hole better than I've almost seen any, even our men's players play this hole. So it'll be one of those things. What do we see Paul McBeth do? I think he's just lining up the hyzer. And as I said, he's looking to just get into the clubhouse. He has already put the work in on this this event.
Paul's release, here it comes. Same thing, big husband.
And there's really just that last stand of trees on the left side, and you can see the tombstone there from Paul. Paul's been able to avoid those, and now he's in a decent position. He's going to have to play the right side of that center clump, which does bring the OB into effect on the right side of the green area.
The tombstone count is high in this round.
We need a UDIS stat for tombstones.
Here's Kevin Jones throwing up the gut shot. He hung it a little bit to the right, nipped a few branches, but I think he'll be laying right there in the middle of the fairway. That's a nice shot, and it looks like Chris is going for the same route, up the gut. That is a good line as long as you can keep the disc on that frozen rope. You don't want to finish off to the left. You'll be in the rough, and there is OB that comes into play.
Here it comes.
And Chris has just made it through on that left side. That tee shot is very, very tight.
Yeah, it is, and we'll catch up with the players farther down the fairway here after a quick commercial break. Hey everybody, we are back, and I'm just checking out my computer and looking down the leaderboard here on UDisc Live, and here's the scores right now. We have players finishing up on the second card, so we've got some final scores in. Eagle McMahon finished 9 under for the round. He's sitting in tied for fourth at -21, and we still have Kevin Jones down there in 8th place. Doesn't look like he's going to make much of a move in this final hole. But we have Chris Dickerson at -22, 3rd place. Garrett Gurthie, -23 in 2nd. Here we go with Kevin Jones on his second shot.
The most interesting thing I saw there on that top 10 leaderboard, Val, was honestly the fact that Paul McBeth is 12 under par. And just on a class of his own today, he is 3 clear of the hot round, and he's 11 clear of another person in his group in Kevin Jones. So, I mean, just absolutely amazing play by Paul McBeth. Really all today. I was just looking at the scores, and Paul started on hole 2 this morning. He ended up bogeying hole 2 and double bogeying hole 3, but he has not bogeyed since the 4th hole this morning. An incredible run with all that weather they played in this morning.
That is so impressive. And just looking at the scorecard right now, it has been such an impressive round to witness. 12 under.
Possibly 13, depending on what he does here.
Yeah, exactly. And at Bevelcraft Brewing, we have disc golf playing all day long in the tap room, and so we've gotten to see some more impressive rounds from Paul McBeth. That throw down the mountain round, 18 down. I mean, he's just capping it off with another incredible round, and he's going to be the champion if he can shoot cleanly. He's only got a few more throws left. but I expect to see his name in the number 1 position.
Well, and this is that gap he's taken off to the right, keeping a very close eye on it. He's close to that OB. It's tough to tell exactly if he ended up in that OB. It was a really difficult angle for us to tell, but that OB does come in there on the right, and we'll come back and now see Double G also going to take this angle out this right side gap. This is such a tough line because of that OB on the right. See how Garrett, has he got enough to come back? So tough to tell. It's just that little bit of a baby crosswind there too. As the disc come out of that gap, it hits it and just holds it out to the right. So it'll be interesting to see where both those players have landed.
Yeah, it will. And I believe that Paul was in bounds. He wasn't pushing far enough with the distance there. Garrett was flying a little bit higher. So we will see how their shots finished up in just a second while we wait for some players to figure out their positions. But it looks like Kevin Jones is going to be next up. We've seen many players get hung up in the same position that Kevin is in. Makes the upshot a little bit tricky to the basket.
Yeah, I mean, this is that center bunker that we're talking about. Kevin's right in the middle of it. We saw Katrina Allen get caught up in it this morning. And, this is now Kevin's third shot. Again, this is a par 4, hole 18. And he's just trying to nestle it up. Kevin hasn't had the best day on the course. That's a nice finish for Kev. But, it's just been one of those types of days that is so difficult. It'll be one that he will try his best to forget and just move on to the next event on the tour.
Yep, exactly. It looks like his game in general is coming together. He's got great putts. His distance and arm speed are very impressive. So he's got a well-rounded game, and I expect to see him playing on the lead cards in the future Disc Golf Pro Tour events for sure. There we go. We've got a nice little layup there.
Johnny, I think I'll have a pretty solid light for all these putts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about K. Jones. He just needs to clean up that short putting, and Chris Dickerson as well. And the nice thing about this final group, and we see now Paul McBeth here, he's just going to, let's see if he gives us a run. That was sort of a half run. We know we want to see Paul McBeth putt out at the very end as the champion, and we see now Double G moving in, and Double G has executed a beautiful shot. Garrett Gurthie is going to finish in a solo second position yet again in the Jonesboro Open, and we'll see if next year he can come back. And beautiful finish there by Garrett. Congratulations to Garrett Gurthie. But yeah, 2 second places in a row. I feel like next year might be the opportunity that Garrett's looking for.
Yeah, just having a few more of those putts drop in, but every other part of his game has been so great. There's Kevin Jones putting in there. And we have Chris Dickerson, who will be taking solo third, putting in that par to finish. And we have now a new champion of the Jonesboro Open. Paul McBeth is the champion this year, getting some congratulations from his opponents. But man, there was a point in this round where there was absolutely no doubt that Paul was going to take this.
Yeah, I almost feel like it was all the way back on hole, I think it was basically hole 9 that I felt like Paul was playing so well. He made that beautiful putt on hole 9, and just about a month ago, Val, we saw Paul McBeth sort of get over that hump in this early part of the season, take down the win at Waco. Then he goes off to Florida and just absolutely dominates at the throwdown, finishing in a very tight race against Calvin Heimberg in Tallahassee for a second place finish, and then coming out here to Arkansas for the big win. So it'll be interesting to see how this momentum keeps up for Paul McBeth.
Yeah, it's so incredible to see a player of his caliber. I mean, at the beginning of the year, he completely switched sponsors. and switching up all of his discs. He's now sponsored by Discraft, who we're familiar with, but switching up discs has played no challenge to this incredible player. He has been able to dial in those discs, and shooting 12 down today just puts a huge statement in his career. It's so impressive.
Yeah, big
That's all I can say.
ups to Garrett Gurthie too. The way he finished that round, I'm just looking down at his scorecard. He bogeyed the 13th hole, but then from 14 all the way on, basically the last 5 holes, he shot 6 under par with that eagle on hole 16. So Garrett was almost completely dropped off of our list there, and really, has just shot right back up to take that solo finish. So big ups to Garrett Gurthie. Chris Dickerson giving a great effort there to finish in that second place. Garrett just had too much for him down the stretch.
That's right. And Garrett finishes 3 behind the winner this year. He finished 4 behind Ricky Wasaki, who was the 2-time champion of this event. So Garrett is, I'm sure, coming back next year for a little bit of redemption. But yes, he did shoot some awesome golf this weekend. But moving up that leaderboard, Eagle McMahon shot a 9 down today to bring him at 21 under, tied with Paul Ulibarri, who was in his group. Paul was able to shoot an 8 under. So there was some hot golf out there today, giving these guys a chance to finish the tournament with 3 complete rounds by fitting in that early morning round so that everybody could finish their second round today. I think it was a good move on the Jonesboro Open staff's part. And it's always good to see, even with a little bit of weather, players being able to complete the tournament.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll see as soon as Paul gets this card turned in, we're going to go ahead and get that interview with him. But yeah, brilliant move by the tournament staff. Of course, it's always tough for the players to have to play in these conditions. But I'll tell you right now, it's one of those things where, that's a part of the, being in this job. And so we're going to see now Paul getting just mic'd up. He's going to be able to hear us here in just a second. And as soon as we're ready, we will go to him and get this interview underway.
This is so cool. I mean, it's amazing to see how technology happens for technology to bring us this live coverage this weekend. And it looks like Paul is all mic'd up and we've got him on cue right now. This is awesome to see. We're getting to do our first ever after round coverage. Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are you guys doing?
Can you hear him?
I cannot hear Paul at this point. It worked flawlessly this morning, but maybe our boxer's not on. But go ahead, Val. You got anything to ask Paul?
Well, Paul, my first question, congratulations first off. Incredible play today. So much fun for Nate and I to watch it from the studio here in Bend, Oregon. You shot absolutely lights out. But let's talk about this weekend and how it played out. With the round being canceled yesterday's afternoon, how do you feel that you handled that happening yesterday, and how did you feel coming into today playing 2 rounds?
Well, first off, thank you. I was a little frustrated with how the round got canceled just because we knew it was coming, the weather, but it kind of helped me. I was on a bad stretch there with 2 bogeys before the round was called, so that helped me. Kind of end up where I did.
Well, there you go, Paul. And, one thing we were just looking at as you were playing that round, we completely saw that from the 4th hole today, and I believe you started on hole 2 this morning early at 7:30, you did not have a bogey through the entire round. What was it for you that really just switched? It seemed like there was just a switch that turned, and then coming into the second round with 10 straight birdies from hole 7 all the way to hole 16.
Yeah, I think that delay actually really helped me. Even though I was frustrated yesterday, coming out fresh in the morning really propelled me to kind of change my mindset and And then today I just kind of got into a groove where the putt was really comfortable, so I wasn't too worried about putting it outside the circle if I had to.
Well, that's awesome. And yeah, amazing shooting. This is your opportunity right now on live coverage. It's kind of like our award ceremony in a sense. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank out there that has helped you win the tournament this weekend?
Well, I mean, just the support from all over the world, the fans watching at home, the people that came out here today, my family in Virginia and in California. So thank you everyone for watching, and thanks for supporting.
Well, congrats, Paul. Big ups to you, man. Keep it up. You've been doing wonderful over this last month. Good luck at the GBO, and we'll see you out west at the San Francisco Open, man, dude. Great job. It was super fun to watch, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there was Paul McBeth. You know, one thing, Val, Paul is so good at these interviews. He's just so well spoken, but you know, he's been in this position so many times, and he just is so confident.
Yeah, cool as a cucumber, as some would say. He has been in this position so many times before. I mean, he just shot rounds that we can only dream of, and he's so casual and comfortable and humble about it. You know, when you get to a point where you just shoot rounds like that all the time, I guess you get used to it. But that is it for the coverage today at the Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open presented by Pro Discus. We want to thank everybody out there that's been watching the live coverage and supporting us. Nate and I, we had a great time this weekend. Thank you to all the cameramen, all the staff that has made this happen. And the next event on the schedule, as you mentioned, was the San Francisco Open. It's the next stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and we'll be here. You better be here too. We'll see you soon. Have a good night.